Nathan, it's been a little while.
Yes.
It's okay to eat while podcasting, right?
Yeah. Although I already finished my smoothie, so
Smoothie. Ah,
yeah.
just remembered I left my
Protein
coffee in the
smoothie.
car. Protein smoothie. Is that a go-to for you?
Yeah, I've been just making them. So right now we are watching live the reveal of the first 4 images that NASA is releasing from the James Webb Space Telescope, and it's pretty exciting.
Okay, can I just say this live stream feed looks like it's from 1985.
Oh yeah, it's janky as hell, and it's just the greatest thing I think I've ever seen.
Stylistically, it's like all the clothes everybody's wearing, all the hairstyles.
It's great. It's NASA. They're doing a live stream. They don't know what they're doing.
It's true.
They know how to make they know how to make space cameras. They don't know how to run a live stream.
They don't care what it looks like. They
It's
just care if
great.
it works. And if it works,
Everyone that's been on here has been so geeky. It's great.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. Okay, so can you kind of set the? Should we wait? Let's wait. Obviously, they're saving the last image for as the best image, right? I'm assuming it's a big deal.
It's
Is this where we find out that aliens exist? There's another Earth.
I don't know.
Took a picture of us at the same time. That'd be kind of crazy. Okay, I'm not going to have the live stream volume up, so I'm just literally looking at two dudes talking.
Right.
You know, a part of me wonders if NASA has this drive to always make better image quality, because all the people that work there, they just have horrible eyesight because they're just staring at screens all day, and they're like, just to keep up with our own failing eyesight in our old age, we need to. Because if you looked at some of the back-to-back comparisons from previous telescopes, it literally looks like things are just becoming more and more in focus.
Yeah.
They have these. Have you seen the thumbnails where it's exact same section of space, and they show you the difference in sharpness, and it's like, oh, it just looks like the same photo, just becoming more and more in focus. So that, I mean, that means
it's the difference though of like taking a photo with, like a 70 to 200. Let's say you take a photo at like 200 on like a D700, and then you get a 600 lens, and you put that on there on like a Canon R5 or something. It's like going to be sharper and higher megapixel and all that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, but there must be a limit, right? We must be approaching the limit of.
Yeah. Oh, here it is.
Dun, dun, dun. Wow. Ooh. You know what? I bet somebody added all those sun stars.
No, they did not.
Of course not. It's really, really cool. All right, you listening?
Yeah, that image is insane. What? Oh my God. This is so cool.
They couldn't have splurged for the giant continuous screen.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is she getting emotional?
Oh my God. All these people are freaking out. Look at how sharp it is. Whoa.
Okay, so we're still recording. Let's get back to it. We just watched the clip of the final image reveal, which anybody can just go to NASA's website and see for free. They release all the images in like perfect high res.
Massive, detail.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah. So they revealed 4 images. One was the image that Biden like tweeted out yesterday, which is the Webb's first image, which is the deep field of like just hundreds, thousands of galaxies. The second one, and so they kind of went through and were talking about some of the stellar formation and the galactic formation that they saw going in there. But especially what was especially exciting about that image was the discovery of, or the actually being able to see these super, super, super faint, super distant red galaxies in the back, and those are the ones that the Webb was designed to photograph and to like examine. Those are galaxies that formed 13 billion years after the Big Bang. That's the furthest we can see right now. So that was really cool. Then they released
amazing.
So then they release a spectrograph of just like an exoplanet that they've been looking at that is closer to its own star than Mercury is to ours, but it has, according to their data, it definitely has water in the atmosphere, definitely has clouds and haze. So that's a pretty significant discovery too.
That's amazing. Did they have a
Uh,
name for that exoplanet?
yeah, what did they name it? WASP 96 system. It's just a planet in the WASP 96 system. I don't know.
Cool.
WASP 96b is what they're calling it. So that's that exoplanet, and then they showed an image of a stellar, like a supernova of a binary star. It's very cool. It's
So
really,
I'm
really
going through
cool.
the feed right now and looking at the comparison images between Hubble
Hmm.
and James
Yeah.
Webb, and it's insane actually. Like to see, first of all, there's much more. I don't know how they've shifted colors, if at all. I'm sure it's not all natural color, maybe, but it's very red, white, and blue, or like orange, white, and blue versus Hubble, where there's a lot of greens and mostly orange, a little
Mm.
bit of white. It's so interesting to me, the difference in just the coloring, not just the sharpness and resolution, but
Yeah, definitely.
wow, and of course the
So
noise.
they had a little segment on the live stream just now of the post process like editors that
Okay.
were just editing the images, and they
Mhm.
just kind of described how they would assign the colors based on the distance, basically. So anything that's red is typically, red shifted really far away or older,
Mm.
and then the blue is like nearer and closer.
Okay.
So, but they kind of went through a bunch of stuff, and they also showed some really cool description or some really cool diagrams of like what it looks like inside the James Webb Space Telescope. There's like a mirror that bounces off another mirror, that bounces off another mirror, that bounces off another mirror, that goes through a section where this disc basically rotates and has different filters on it, so they can just rotate the filters based on what they want to observe.
Hmm.
So they can just snap the same image and then rotate the filter disc, I guess, and get the whole spectrum of an image.
One thing I just can't help but wonder about is the next generation after this, how it could possibly be improved, because it's so sharp. I mean, I guess like the zoom in and resolution could be improved, but man, these are just
Sure.
insanely detailed. It's hard to even wrap your head around. I would also love to know the method of, like, how long it actually takes to get these images beamed back to Earth and
Yeah, I
downloaded.
don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I do know that they said during the stream that the um, the images from Hubble usually would take about 2 weeks to kind of put together, start to finish. And they said they can do these images like over breakfast with the
Okay.
JWST. So they
Wow.
can. It's got significantly like faster capability.
As I keep looking through Twitter, there's just endless comparisons between Hubble, and I have to admit, I have not appreciated the scope and incredible output that Hubble had. Yeah, I've
Oh my
seen random
god!
images here and
Everything that
there,
we've
but
seen is Hubble. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty insane. The improved detail in some of these galaxies is kind of terrifying, because
Yeah.
it's just, you're like, oh wait, that is actually an entire freaking galaxy. It's not just a blob of orange. You can actually see this interaction.
Right.
And okay, the other thing though that kind of freaked me out last night when you and I were hanging out at your place and we were looking at the first image, the one that you mentioned, Biden tweeted. There there is some little pockets of interaction where you can see things like looping around each other or whatnot, but
Hmm.
I couldn't help but notice it just looked like somebody took like a whole fistful of pixie dust and just threw it, just threw it out, and then it's all just
Yes.
flying. There's no discernible like rhythm or pattern to how these things interact. I mean, obviously they're spread very, very, very far apart, but
Yeah.
it's so crazy that it's just a wall of material just
Right.
flying. It's
It is a
kind of,
little bit strange to think that it's not possible to comprehend that
yeah,
that we are on a planet that is around a star. And that's hard enough to understand on its own. But the fact that our star is just one star in a galaxy, and in this one image are thousands of galaxies through space and time, none of which are in that same space right now. This is an image that, is the universe as it was like 13 billion years ago in the back, and in the foreground, a couple hundred light years.
yeah.
It's just so strange. What's cool about, here's the other thing too. They made a special note. So find the image of the 5 galaxies together.
Okay. The ones that are kind
That's
of circling each other. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this it?
Yes, it's called Stephan's Quintet.
Yep, I see it.
So what they especially highlighted on this image was, so there's this, try to think about this image 3-dimensionally, okay? So these the bright stars, the bright the super bright spots with the star flare, it are stars in our galaxy, in our solar, or not our solar system, in our galaxy, that are in the path of this image, right? So these are, think of
Is
them
that
as,
what those are? Is that why?
yes,
Okay, that makes
these are
sense why they're
stars.
so much brighter and why they contain sun stars, because they are that much brighter. They're just in
Exactly.
the path of very cool.
So they're in the path of the galaxy. So we are seeing stars in our own galaxy right here. Lots of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 30, 40 of 50 of them. Okay. Then we're seeing these galaxies that are sort of at mid-range, right? This quintet of galaxies that are all kind of, I think 4 of them are actually circling each other, and then 1 is kind of off to the side. And so that's kind of midfield. And then in the background, we're also seeing every single one of those other, especially the red ones, all of those are super distant galaxies. So what James Webb Space Telescope has done is it has zoomed in and focused in on its subject, this quintet of 5 galaxies. But in the foreground is our own galaxy, and in the background is like hundreds of or thousands of other galaxies. And so this is like, it's like near, mid, and far range in terms of what this image is actually seeing.
Now, do you have any sense
spectacular.
of the percentage of the sky that this is capturing?
I mean,
Like, I know it's hard to even describe how you would even measure that, but
I don't know how to describe that.
yeah,
It's tiny.
I know. I figured it is, but I wish there was a way to quantify.
I wonder if it says.
Yeah.
And one other thing about this image is that they mentioned that it actually shows, even though you can't see a black hole here, there is a black hole in this image.
Interesting. By the way, there's a photographer friend of mine who is messaging me this morning. His literal name is James Webb Photography, and his Instagram is James Webb with 2 B's, exact same spelling.
Oh, he's blowing up right now.
Yeah. It's like he must be getting tagged all over the place. So funny. I wonder if that's why there's NASA Webb is the Twitter handle.
Yeah, maybe.
NASA James Webb or something. Yeah, that's these are amazing. This is so exciting. And it ties in very nicely with my theory of the universe. We kind of gave you the outline last week, which is a combination of things. Have you thought deeply about how I'm right or wrong?
I have thought about your theory, and I think it's cool. I don't think that, I mean, it's totally possible. What this is it's a Southern Ring Nebula, but in the first image on the left, they're like, oh, cool, it's it's a nebula. We're pretty sure it's a binary star, but they couldn't see it in that image. But check it out. When Miri took the shot, you can clearly see the second star. That is a binary star. Boom, right there. It's so cool. It's so and it's in such good detail. Like, I mean, we are literally staring right down the barrel of a binary star exploding a couple of times. So you're seeing the sort of more prominent ring, oval shaped ring that's kind of nearer to it is like, secondary explosion. The first explosion is all that other stuff around the edge. And there's a second ring too. So there's like 1, 2, I think maybe 3 explosions over the course of, I don't know, thousands, maybe millions of years. And that's just so sick to see an actual binary star exploding like that in such high detail is crazy.
It really is. I didn't realize they were broadcasting everything from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
drive by that all the time.
And the actual control room for Webb Space Telescope is 10-minute drive from both of us, right in the heart of Baltimore, right near the
did not know
right near
that.
the Johns Hopkins campus.
Very cool. I love that.
Yeah, they were broadcasting from there today too.
Yeah, the NASA Goddard and NASA Goddard Visitor Center are literally a 2-minute drive from the Dianet Center of America, where I shoot a ton of wedding ceremonies. So
That's awesome.
It's really weird because you get off the highway and then it's like farmland for a couple miles, and then boom, there's NASA, and then right past NASA, it's a typical American suburb with a Turkish mosque right in the middle of it.
Yep.
It was like imported from Turkey. Like
so
brick
crazy.
or like stone by stone. And it's just this weird little collection of just totally random, different, could not be more different buildings and purposes.
That is really cool.
It's really, yeah. But yeah, I think about NASA a lot, just by the nature of driving by. It's really cool.
The image that's really blowing my mind, honestly, is the Stephan's Quintet image. I just feel like the more and more I look at it, the more kind of three-dimensional it gets. But I'm also looking and realizing that right in the middle of the image to the right are 2 galaxies that are really near each other. And they're totally like interacting with each other. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I wonder if the additional resolution provides much. Well, it must provide just unfathomable amounts of new realizations and data for people to play with. But I wonder if it provides any kind of breakthrough mathematically, how they think about things, or just how that process plays out. And I'm also wondering like how they go about pixel by pixel, like discerning what's different. Is this another new thing? Is it just a piece of dust? Like what is going on there? Or if they just look at it as a whole and kind of make broad observations, and they don't try and get too in the weeds about what every little speck might be. I'd be really interested. Honestly,
I'm sure
things.
I'm sure that they have anything that looks interesting. They are diving down this hole. The thing that I think I liked most about this live stream was just how geeky it was, and how everyone in this like on the show or like on the live stream was just extremely excited, kind of funny on camera, and total nerds. It just makes me so happy that these are the people that are actually doing the observations, and that there's no like slick guy or gal that's just up there being like, all right, like we got these great images. It's these scientists that are like, we definitely I think we're really, what we're seeing here is maybe a black hole, but we need to make sure to check our observations and things like that. And I'm like, this is just so great.
James Webb spotted the unambiguous signature of water, indications of haze and evidence for clouds once thought not to exist there. So one thing I remember talking about yesterday with the teaser image you and I were looking at, as a photographer, it's really fascinating to think about the decisions, I'm assuming, go into the trade-off between noise and exposure detail, and where, because the images that we're getting, though way less noise than the Hubble images, there's still noise. So it's something people don't have to think about as much now in photography, because you can shoot what is your current camera, the R6, and what's the high end of the ISO you're comfortable shooting before you're like, I'm gonna make another adjustment to light?
Yeah, I mean, once I start cracking through 12,600, I
Yeah.
start thinking, okay, do I want to keep going on and crank it up to 25,000? Like, which I can't. I'm totally fine doing that, but I'm like, can I just lower my shutter speed a little bit and stay a little
Throw on
lower
a
on
light, throw
ISO?
on a flash, something. Yeah, I love that. It used to be more a part of the process, but the trade off and decision making you'd have to make as a photographer
Hmm.
between your shutter speed, so you're not getting too much blur. That's probably not a huge issue with these. I wonder what the maximum amount of time the shutter can stay released on the James Webb is. It's got to be
I don't
infinite,
know, but
really.
it's good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. The issue though is like, how is it staying still for long enough? Because clearly these are super, super. I mean, I don't understand quite how like mirror lenses work.
Wait a second. Yeah, that
Um,
is difficult because it is orbiting, right? So it is moving. But
yes, kind of. It's in a really stable place though, so it's able to make observations with kind of limited adjustments. But
well,
yeah,
the trade off is still fascinating to think they must be pushing the sensor to a limit of some kind
mhm.
to be able to get more brightness and detail. But I wonder, if it's mathematically, if it's just preference, they vote on it. Like, where is that line of okay, this is enough noise, we need to stop, because we start to now be like breaking down on the other side of the noise is interfering with uh, what would otherwise be a clear image. So yeah, I don't know. It's really fascinating. Also, I would be really curious. I'm sure it's simple math, but to think about it as a photographer, we mostly operate at most with 30-second exposures. For
Right,
weddings, obviously
maximum.
photographers will
Yeah.
do bulb mode and go minutes for cool pictures of space and stuff. But I'm guessing these must be a whole nother level of having to calculate your exposure to get the properly exposed image like this. Like, I just can't even imagine. Also, what the heck? I wonder what the aperture of these lenses,
Well,
these
that's
mirror
that's the
lenses.
thing. Mirror lenses have sort of a different way of operating, but basically, it's yeah, it's a crazy f-stop of
It says the diameter of primary mirror is 21.3 feet.
right. So that's the primary mirror. That's that big gold mirror that everyone
Yeah,
can see.
that's
So
pretty cool.
it takes all of that and reflects it directly into
There's
basically a
18 mirror segments, and it's
yeah.
131.4 meters focal length.
Whoa. Right. Okay. So that explains why mirror lenses can
It's 430
can be
feet.
super long. Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
just what they're doing is they're taking it and bouncing it around inside. That effectively makes it a further focal length. They knew that they needed to build a mirror telescope and it needed to be huge, and so that's what they did. Originally, it was supposed to be 8 meters, and I think they made it into 10
Okay.
uh, as they were
Um,
doing their observations or their
Curious
testing.
if you went through this phase. I would be shocked if some photographers don't at one point, where there's like an entire YouTube world of photographers that just geek out on insane space photography, like
Yeah, like
backyard.
astrophotography.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly that. But like in your backyard with an insane, multi-thousand-dollar, if not tens or more, thousands of dollars equipment to photograph insanely detailed pictures of mostly planets. Um, anyway, I remember at some point during one of the lockdowns of COVID, I was like, all right, I'm just going to research the crap out of this and buy something so I can do this. But big problem we have on the East Coast here is we just too much noise pollution.
Lot
And
lot of light.
secondary
Yeah.
to that, it seems like though you can get some really incredible captures with these tools, it seems like a lot of liberties are taking creating mosaics or stacks of stuff and then colorizing it in a way that I'm like, okay, you're drawing on inspiration from actual stuff that you captured, but this is becoming more and more of a blend between sort of CG or just colorization that you were painting in, and on
Right.
top of like a template, which was essentially your original photo. So I kind of bailed on that because I just have no desire to
It's
draw
a
something on
lot
top of a photo that was
of
captured. Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of work.
I do
And
follow, just a plug for this one guy before I forget. It's one of the
sure.
few people I back on Patreon, and his name is Andrew, and I will find his exact name. Really amazing stuff. He posts, of course, higher res like wallpapers and backgrounds for your phone and stuff like that to his feed. But he's one of the best in terms of colorizing the stuff
Was
that he
this
captures.
Andrew McCarthy?
Yep, that's him. Yeah, he's gone viral a few times for his well, yeah, if you look at his work now,
Yeah.
Andrew McCarthy, let's do space photos. Uh, they look insanely detailed, almost like what we're seeing coming from the James Webb telescope. But it's because it's, a billion different photos stacked and then
Right.
colorized and controlled in a way that looks really impressive and might even be scientifically accurate, but isn't like,
Oh, I
amateur.
remember his photo of the sun. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, he's got beautiful pictures of the moon, but I still think he takes a lot of liberties with how things are colorized, um, which makes for really mind blowing, compelling photos, but not, I don't think, not scientifically accurate. But
Right.
beautiful enough that he's getting 7,600 likes on a photo. It's
Oh my
insane.
God.
Yeah, but he lives also in the Southwest, so really clear skies, and a lot
Yeah.
of the work is just knowing where to freaking point the thing at what time of day, and his work is beautiful. It's really, really great stuff. So
Really
highly,
cool.
he's got
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna
half a
I'm
million
gonna
followers.
take
So
a look at that.
his Patreon is great. Not very. So what I was hoping on his Patreon would be a little bit more of a guide into his process and methods. Not too much of that going on, but he's good
Gotcha.
enough that I just want him to continue existing in the world doing what he does, which is why I continue to back him. But
Cool.
yeah, definitely check his stuff out. And I'm curious if anybody listening has a side hobby of doing this. I'm guessing it's very region specific based on, like, you would have to drive, I think, a few hours from where you and I live, Nathan, to
Yeah.
really be able to
Hmm.
do anything. Unfortunately, I guess there's not enough filters, or you would think like certain IR backs, like infrared capture and all that, would almost be immune to light pollution. But I don't know. I
I'm not
Maybe it
sure.
even is. I just kind of gave up after a while because I was just, I don't know, I have something else to do.
I also you eventually you need, like, it's not like grabbing like a 600 millimeter lens and like pointing it at the sky, and
Yeah,
it's you
it's
have to
not.
like do calculations or like get a camera, get a computer that you can attach to
Yep.
a telescope, and then you kind of like figure out a way to attach your camera to the telescope, and then you can start actually making some photographs, and they're all going to be like weird and janky, and
I mean, and
it's
then
just
the
like with anything
stabilization,
else.
like all this stuff weighs a ton. You have to get stabilization or stabilizer that will actually move as well, like
Hmm.
synced in with the right speed, given the movement of the Earth and all kinds of stuff. That's really, really fun and fascinating for people that are into it. But
Super cool. I think in, again, like in a, in a different life, I probably would have done that. Hey, maybe when I'm like 60 and I'm like, "Ugh, I just want to take photos of stars. I can,
yep,
just like James Webb all those years ago. I
yep.
can, I can just, you know, start doing that, but to an extent. But I've been following the James Webb Space Telescope since before its launch on Christmas
Mhm.
Day, this past Christmas. It was such a cool thing too, that like it was supposed to launch earlier, a few days earlier, I think, but weather wasn't good. Some sensor wasn't working right on one of the launch vehicles, so they just postponed it a few more days to check everything out and test everything out on the rocket. And so it was literally Christmas morning. I woke up like a couple of minutes later than I wanted to, and I was like, oh, I was like popping through Instagram or something, and then like all of a sudden it was like, oh my god, James Webb! And I like ran downstairs. I was staying over at Abby's dad's house with Abby, getting ready for Christmas morning. I like ran downstairs in my pajamas, like opened the screen, and I saw the rocket in midair, and I was like, James Webb took off, and I just watched it as at the
Nice.
whole live stream as they launched as the James Webb Space Telescope like popped off of its launch vehicle and started going out into space, and then as it spread its solar wings, basically it had these like four solar wings that it
I remember those.
spread, and
Yeah.
it as they all expanded. Everybody in the European Space Agency just went like jumping up into the air and
Yeah.
screaming and like super excited. And as you just slowly watch this tiny little observatory all packed up into this silver package, just slowly moving off into its destination. And it was so cool to watch. It was very geeky, but I just really loved it. And then over the course of literally ever since then, every couple of weeks, I've been checking in on all of the different milestones it's been hitting, because as most people may know, but some people may not, the James Webb Space Telescope it's too big to have been just put into space and like opened and ready to go. They had to pack it in such a way that the mirrors, there's 3 sections of mirrors, and two of the sections of mirrors folded in, so they kind of created this little neat little package just that could fit inside this rocket. And so and it's a very complex space telescope, because in order for the lens to be able to filter the infrared, to get real infrared data, it needs to be cold, like really,
like
really, really,
negative
really cold.
400 degrees or something, or like 350 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah. So it has all of these literally silver heat shields, 5 of them, that had to be that are positioned between the camera and the sun, so that the sun's warmth does not come into the images and create basically a red haze around the images. So it would basically have been muddying the image, but just not because of light, but because of heat, which I think is so cool.
That's fascinating.
And so over the course of the last 6-7 months, it's been traveling to its destination, which is this kind of like perfect spot between the Earth and the sun. It was kind of like unfolding like origami, and every single time that it did this, like a change, it could have failed, and there would have been no way to fix it. So they had to like really test everything out rigorously, and apparently, long story short, everything went even better than expected for the scientists. And
that's good.
As we can see today, all that work paid off.
Sounds like that's been a recurring theme in terms of a lot of the Mars vehicles and everything kind of lasting much longer than was planned or rated.
Right.
It's kind of amazing. Yeah. So some interesting facts though. The whole project was developed starting in 1996. And a launch was initially planned for 2007, $500 million budget. But there were tons of delays, cost overruns, and then they just decided to do a major redesign in 2005. So I've always wondered about this as well. I mean, technology iterates so quickly for consumer products. How do you plan for where technology is going to be in something like a digital camera like this when it's a 20-year long project deployment where the technology might have improved so much now that you should just start over because you want that newest sensor or whatever. But anyway, it's interesting because in 2005, they actually had a ripped sun shield during a practice deployment. And they pissed off Congress. There was like a bunch of review boards about the cost overruns, COVID pandemic, all this stuff like stacked, and ended up costing. Well, first of all, they completed the construction in 2016. So even after that, it took that long for them to be able to launch the thing.
So crazy.
Entire cost $9.7 billion. Those are some really expensive pictures. I was also thinking this must be like a poster making company's favorite day on Earth.
Oh my God, yes. the pay money for this desktop wallpaper companies are all freaking out too.
And the pay money to name a new star must also be freaking out. Yeah, it's
so something that they touched on during the live stream that was cool. I knew beforehand, but it was cool to hear them talk about it too, was the process by which they decide how, like, what should this thing take photos of? Because NASA has their own priorities in terms of like, we want to observe this and this and this.
Yeah.
But this is it was put into space so that scientists from all over the world, from any kind of discipline, could use it as a just book it. Hey, shoot this thing for me.
That's
And
cool.
so what you do is, if you're a scientist and you want to make, let's say you theorize that there is water on an exoplanet in, like, let's say like the WASP 96 system or something like that. What you would do is you would submit a proposal to NASA that basically has your theory, has your hypothesis, has your idea about like what you want to observe, uh, how you want it to be observed, and what you're expecting to see, and why you think it would be significant to observe. And you submit that to NASA, and they will like look at it, review it, and be like, either we can't do it for whatever reason, or okay, this is a significant enough um, idea and a important enough observation that we will give you, just for free, I'm assuming, time, like we will photograph this thing for you and send it.
That's
um,
amazing. That must be.
yeah.
I'm thinking those are people working on PhDs and
Yep.
like really
Research
established.
students.
Yeah, that's exciting. Very cool.
And yeah, and there was, I was just reading about this one story that she submitted her application, like, hey, we know that we're pretty sure that James Webb is going to be able to observe this, that, and the other, and this is what we want to look at. And so they approved it. And she was like, when they got the approval that like the most powerful telescope in humanity will be taking photos for them, they were like, yes, like,
That's got to feel amazing. That's
yeah.
cool. Thanks for outlining that process. Very
Hmm.
interesting. I never really thought about how they go about. I mean, it's got to be such valuable. The whole project is what, meant to last 10 years or something. I'm not sure how long it's going to be up there and
It
operational,
is
but
rated for a 10-year thing,
yeah,
but they said that according to their data about how it was deployed and like its current operational structure or whatever, it's going to be able to go for significantly longer than that.
crazy.
I think Hubble was the same way. They thought it was oh, what was funny though? Apparently Hubble, and I don't know if you're aware, but apparently when Hubble was first launched, there was this like huge controversy because it was out of focus.
Oh,
um, and they literally had to send a mission to like refocus it, like
oh my
with
gosh.
astronauts to like refocus it.
That's
And like,
pretty insane.
yeah,
Hubble's
everybody
mere
in Congress
flaw.
was like pissed off because it was like, it was supposed to be like perfectly
I
in
see.
focus, and
You
it
can,
was
if you
not. It
just
was
Google it,
bad.
nasa.gov. Yep. The comparison image of the core of a galaxy, dramatic improvement. Let me send it to you. This is 1993.
Yep.
You are right. They literally had to fly up there and make a lens adjustment.
Hmm.
Oh, could you imagine the feeling when you finally get the images downloaded
Yeah.
and
It's like,
just, oh, wait a second.
why is it so fuzzy, everybody?
It, Steve, you forgot to
Steve,
focus.
damn it, Steve.
Oh, that is so funny. Anyway, I had no idea. This is so long ago, 1990 to 1993 is when the computer image processing, they found a way to mitigate the effects, but that's not what you want. You don't want that. You don't want to have
No, you
to
don't want that.
make
Oh,
up
wow,
for it.
that's so funny. Yeah.
I
They were
mean,
like,
it's,
guys, is that galaxy supposed to look like that?
but you know, another thing I've always been interested in, have not done enough research, is the use of digital cameras. Like, I mean, that they were
Hmm.
nothing in early 90s. Nobody had digital
Right.
camera, but these must all be digital images, right? Nobody's
Yes.
like unloading the film roll and bringing it back to Earth. That
No.
would be amazing. So it's kind of incredible to think of where, yeah, it's really painful and everything would have to be custom coded and just slow to work with
Hmm.
digitally at that time period. But the fact that they had access to that and were able to pull off, I wonder what they have access to now, just like
Yeah.
on the ground in the labs.
So, kind of going along with that, and that comment you made earlier about how do you plan for technology's advancement? Well, so Hubble has definitely an advantage that comes with trade-offs over the James Webb Space Telescope, which is that because Hubble is orbiting our planet, if there was something that needed to be changed on it, that needed to be worked on, for instance, an out of focus
Refocusing the lens, yes.
lens, then you can send a mission with astronauts on it to fix it. James Webb Space Telescope does not have that possibility. So they had to, we can't send a mission to fix it. If something went wrong and it got hit by a meteor or something like that, which has already happened, it's already been hit by like a couple of little,
Yikes.
couple of tiny meteorites.
Space dust. Yeah. Yikes.
That they can't fix it. So they can't make any adjustments. They can't do anything. So I'm also a little worried that we're kind of not exactly on borrowed time, but like there may be a time where it gets hit by something and gets so out of alignment that the images, it can't complete its observations the way it was intended to.
Okay.
But they basically have said that where it is in the Lagrange, the Lagrange point is what it's called, where it's the place where it is. It should be fairly safe from that kind of thing. But it is weird to think that so with Hubble, they did send, I think, 3 or 4 multiple missions up to kind of adjust certain things or to like upgrade its sensor, I think at one point, and things like that. Whereas you can't do that with James Webb Space Telescope. Okay. So I'm wondering, kind of again along the lines of your earlier question, how do you plan for advancing technology, or where do we go from here? I think I would assume that they're kind of at least already thinking about it, even with these first images coming through. I'm sure, the technology end of the scientists are of being like, I wonder what we can do more. How can we keep going?
It's exciting. Also, the data that gets downloaded, I'm sure there's an ability for improved software to, over the next 10 years, take the data from the original sensors that are up there now and do something more amazing with it, interpreting it using, I don't know, AI or whatever. Mm-hmm. maybe AI and machine learning. I don't know actually how, but some way to reinterpret. It's like when you pop in an image from the D3 now into Lightroom. 6400 used to be unusable noise back when Lightroom was, whatever version of Lightroom existed with the D3. But now they look great. The images aren't amazing. You still want a newer sensor, sure, but your old photos have kind of new life breathed into them because the algorithms interpreting the noise and dealing with the data have gotten so much better. So it's exciting to think and just wonder about how they iterate their software. Yeah, it's really fascinating. But yeah. Yeah, but
there
we
was
can research that.
Yeah, there was a sort of, and I think for us, the most. Say what?
Oh, sorry, there's a delay. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that there are. So during the segment where they were talking with the editors that were processing these images, the engineer that was working on it was clearly removing, pixel, there was some red, bad pixels in there that he was removing by hand. So there, going through and looking at the Hubble images against this, clearly these are sharper, higher quality in terms of just the sensor, just the image that has been gathered, but the editing and the processing on these is really, really stunning to me. Mm-hmm. The clarity with which we're looking at these galaxies, especially in this deep field, is just so great. The noise is very low, and there's so much stuff in here. I can't wait to look through all these images and just study each galaxy in detail. It's crazy.
I'm reading more about the Hubble issue. Apparently, the flaw in focusing was tiny. It was only 2/50ths as broad as a human hair, but it was all it took to create that out of focus effect that we were talking about earlier. Yeah, that's really, really insane. The tolerances and thresholds for what they must have to.
Okay. As an astronaut in a spacewalk, working on that, All right, we just need to adjust 2/50ths of human hair. Can you do that, Johnson? Yeah, let me just get my screwdriver.
So I'm really excited to see. I wonder if they're going to use James Webb on anything in our solar system, like Jupiter or Mars, like our
Oh,
own local
yeah,
planets. I'm sure they will.
they said
Yeah,
that he was. Yeah, that
I
was
need
one
to
of the
see
things
that
he was
like
that
ASAP.
they were like, we're going to for sure look at Mars and Neptune and everything else.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I specifically want to see some really, really high res shots of all the planets in our solar system, specifically Saturn and its moons. And I really want to see Uranus because it has like a little faint ring that I just want to see. I just want to see these things in like super awesome high maximum detail, you know?
Well, I'm assuming it'll be an exciting year, and we have just years and years of these releases to look forward to now. It's going to be
Totally. And as I've been following it, they've been releasing kind of test images over the course of, the past 6 months. Some of them were just like, here's a photo of like the same star, but because the mirrors were not in alignment yet, it was like the same star like 15 times in like different areas. And then the next image was they were like, we got the images aligned and it's one star. um, and it's so cool to kind of watch an observatory come together in real time through its images that it's producing. And as a photographer, this is like definitely the day I've been waiting for this day for like a year. And I'm really impressed by these images, like more impressed than I was expecting to be.
awesome. Well, let's wrap it up there. Let's
Cool.
we'll be able to jump in on more of these discussions as images are released. Do you have any idea of the frequency that they're planning to?
No.
Yeah, I guess we'll just wait and see.
But given that they've been releasing, test images, just test shots, I would assume, and they've been releasing them with pretty high frequency. Like every couple of weeks, there was like some new image that was kind of coming out. I would be honestly surprised if it wasn't like every week there was something cool, at least for the next, I don't know, couple of months. I would assume that we should keep our eyes peeled. And now that the observatory is completely up and running and is clearly gathering results, we should be expecting to see images come in fairly frequently. I would be absolutely just so excited to be one of the people that is, editing and processing these images.
I was thinking it'd be real funny if you walked in and they're just like the files are just being pulled up in Lightroom.
They're sitting in Lightroom, yeah.
Jumping into Photoshop for a few special things and back into like, no way. But
I'm just gonna pump the exposure here.
I'm sure they're using Photoshop for a lot of it, actually. But
I'm sure
really funny if they're using Lightroom.
Yeah, I mean, at the end,
Steve, make sure you're importing the backups. Get them backed up.
Where are the backups?
Also, I'd be curious what the file types are. As I lose my voice, it's a good time to wrap it. All right. I don't know. Well, all right. Well, got a busy week coming up. See you at a wedding on Friday.
Yep. See you there.
All right. Peace.
All right. Peace.
Bye.